Hello everyone, this is Tanya from Professor Tanya Speaks, and today we're going to be talking about completing the research report. So you'll remember that I started first with the core sentence because that is necessary. So in this video, I spoke about how to find the core sentence. I might have done it in two different videos, but I spoke about how to find the core sentence, which is the essential sentence. Well, actually, before the core sentence, we spoke about how to find the research topic, research question, this video, core sentence, and then we spoke about also outlining the report, because from the core sentence, you're going to come up with your three categories. And once you have those three categories, that's the big picture for your outline. But then you're going to break it down using an alphanumeric approach or a decimal approach. But once you've come up with your outline and you've watched this video and you understand about academic integrity and you know that you have to credit your sources, and once you've watched this other video, you now know how to integrate your sources so that it's not a patchwork of quotes. Because if it's a patchwork of quotes, that is plagiarism. And plagiarism will get you a 0 or an F. You don't want to do that. Nah. So, once you've written your body, and you write your body looking for primary and secondary and maybe tertiary sources, as discussed in this video. So each section of your report answers the different questions that you have related to the categories from your core sentence. Once you've put it together and you have your body, then it's actually time to write your introduction. Now, in my class, we use this, Business Communication Essentials by Bovee. So let me walk you through what you need to have done to ensure that by the end, you have an accurate and an attractive report. So you have your body, and your body has visuals or graphics. You cannot write a report without graphics. Now, some people choose to put the graphics at the end in their appendices, especially if there are many and there are large charts, or sometimes you can put them within the text, within the body of your report. But one rule to keep in mind is only use visuals that will help the audience to understand your content. Don't insult your audience by putting a graphic which doesn't help. It's just pretty. You must be putting graphics because you're trying to assist in their understanding. There's actually another rule. So in this video, I spoke about the different types of graphics you can use. There are many others, but you want to make sure that you use the appropriate one, whether it's the bar graph, or it's a line chart, or it's a pie chart, or it's a table. But really excellent textbook, and it tells you when to use each. Use the appropriate one, because if you use one that doesn't work, that will affect your grade. Now, when you choose your visual, remember to explain it before showing it. So let's say you're going to be talking about a pie chart. You want to refer to your pie chart. When your reader is reading, they shouldn't see the pie chart before they see the explanation. Never put the graphic or the visual before you explain it. And don't just throw it down and leave it. Explain it. As you can see in table 8.1, you'll see that when products were coming from the United States, the the profit was so and so. Explain it. So you must explain it. Well, first, you must use the appropriate one. 2, you must explain it. And 3, you must mention it before showing it. So always think in terms of saying something like, on the graph below, or on the graph on the following page. You don't have to write that, but always keep that in mind. They have to read it before they see it. Okay? Now, once your body is intact and you're happy with it, you're actually now ready to write your introduction. Yeah. Now, the introduction tends to have about 4 paragraphs. Do not write more than that, please. In the first paragraph, you're basically, whoever your reader is, you're explaining why there was a need for action. So let's say, as I spoke about sustainability in this speech, let's say that I was in an organization and I was in human resources, in the human resources department, and I wanted to talk about the sustainability of relationships at work. Then what I would be doing is explaining in this first paragraph how it is I got to this point where I realized there was a need for this project. So the first thing you do is you explain the need and why it is that you need to take action. And then by the end of this introduction, you need to explain the sources. Tell us the sources. How did you gather this information? Because you want us to read your body, but we need to know, why should we listen to you? I mean, like, where do you get this information? So we need to know things like, in other words, we need to understand your credibility, and we need to know how you gathered this information. That will help us to decide if we can trust you. So, introduction and then the body. Now, once you've done your introduction and your body, and you've ended with your conclusion and your recommendations. Now, some students have asked me, should the conclusion be separate from the recommendation? It's up to you. It's up to you. Let's say you have about 4 recommendations, and 3 would be fine. Always remember the rule of 3s. Then maybe you don't want to be putting it with the conclusion. Maybe you want to make it a separate heading. So conclusion, and the conclusion is your answer or your summary to whatever your research question was. And then based on what you've discovered, you're going to now make some recommendations. And that's the last thing. Okay? Recommendations. Now, once you've done all of the introduction, body, conclusion, and recommendations, you are ready to write your executive summary. Some people want to write the executive summary at the beginning. I have no idea why. It's at the beginning of the report just because that's the format. But you actually write it after because it's taking some information from each section of the report. So your executive summary actually has the words executive summary at the beginning. It tends to be at least 1 page. And in that, in this summary, you're going to first state the purpose for your report, and then you're basically summarizing everything that you did in the body. This should be so comprehensive that if a reader were to want a quick, like when they say, give me the quick cliff notes, that should be the cliff notes. Yes, they will need the details eventually, but the average executive is busy and they want to know right away, what was this all about? What was the purpose? What did you find out? What do you recommend? Okay, I'll read it later. So this has to be very clear. And it goes without saying that you need clear topic sentences in your executive summary so that it mirrors and it explains what each section is telling you about, the purpose of this report, sources used, information found, blah, blah, blah. You remember we spoke about the thesis statement. think of your topic sentence as just being the topic sentence think of them like your thesis statement, but this way it's summarizing your paragraph. So make sure that every paragraph starts with a summary. And that's something that students a lot of times overlook. They just write and write and write and write and write and write and write. Every paragraph needs a topic sentence, because the topic sentence will summarize the paragraph. So I'm not sure if I did a video on this. Somehow I'm not sure. If I do, if when I'm finished, I remember that I did, then I'll put it right here, just so that you can have a visual. It's odd that I wouldn't have one though. Anyway, every sentence, every paragraph must have a topic sentence, a concluding sentence with supporting details in between. And those supporting details need to be communicated in a variety of methods of development. You don't only want to just have straight examples. Sometimes you want to do a comparison. You want to compare and contrast. You want to classify. You want to look at cause and effect. You want to do an extended definition. So this textbook gives you about 8 different strategies that you can use. Please use those strategies, because we want a variety. We want a variety of sentence types. Nobody wants to read a 10-page report filled with only one type of paragraph. So look back at your paragraphs now and make sure that they're developed differently. In addition to that, you also want to make sure that you have a variety of sentence types. So remember now, there are 4 sentence types. There's a simple sentence, there's a compound sentence, which means 2 simple sentences together, joined by and or but yet, so one of those words. Then there is the simple compound, then there is a complex, where it's independent and dependent clause put together. And then there is the compound complex, which is a combination of a compound sentence and a complex sentence. I'll eventually do a video on that, eventually. But we want to see a variety of sentence types. Once again, this is after you've written. When you've written your first draft, then you go back through and you look for these things. Do not just assume that you wrote it once and you have no grammar mistakes. It's more than grammar for business writing. No, we're looking at style. So think of this as a checklist. You're going to be looking for your topic sentences. You're going to look for your sentence types. And then there are some other things that I always stress more than everything else. The you attitude, as discussed here. Make sure the you attitude is in place. Next thing, positive language, which I discussed here. Make sure that there is positive language. Anything that is negative, remove it. Next thing, courtesy. Make sure that your language is courteous, where it's obvious that you're being polite. I didn't say subservient, I said polite. And over everything else, make sure the active voice is prominent. It's not likely that you need a passive voice in a report unless it's something negative, but make sure the active voice. And I spoke about this in this video. So active voice, you attitude, positive language, courteous language. And another thing is be concise. If you can say something in 1 sentence, don't say it in 3 sentences. And then on top of all of that now, you also want to make sure that you have a variety in paragraph types, the way you develop the paragraph, and you have a variety of sentences. Those are things that you need to do. Once you've done that, and you've written your executive summary and your body is ready, then it's time for the frills. And the first frill is the title page. You just have to copy that from the textbook. Then there's usually what we call a memo of transmittal. You must have that. And it's just a memo that says, here is the report you requested. And you right away give the conclusion at the beginning of the second paragraph, and you thank people, and you make it as conversational as you can. So when you submit your report, the title page should look like this. It should not look like it's an essay. It should actually look like the one on page 298 if you're using the 5th Canadian edition of the Business Communication Essentials by Bovee et al. Your second page is going to be your memo of transmittal. No other order but the order I'm telling you guys, okay? Third page will be the table of contents, which you cannot do until everything is over so that you know what page correlates to what you're talking about. Next page, your executive summary. And then the next following pages will be the report. And at the very end of the report, you will have your works cited page or your reference page. Works cited if it's MLA, and reference if it's APA. Do not make it up. Don't try to say, I think it should look like this. Do not do that. Go to either the internet and look for APA style. There are tons of examples on the internet, or the college has tons of resources. I don't want to see reference pages which are numbered, like the list of entries are numbered. It's not numbered. It has to be in alphabetical order. The second line has to be hanging. The word references is centered. Do not make it up, guys. Those little details count. And when you're finished with that, you're ready to submit it. Press send and you're good. So I hope this helps you to keep in mind all the things that you need to do to have a really good report. And I want you to really use that magnifying glass and go through your report. Make sure you've written it and you're satisfied with it. And when you're satisfied, look back at all those things I just mentioned, like active voice and all of that, and make sure it's all there. And when it's all there, you know that you have a good report. Then ask somebody to read it for you. It's a good idea. And make sure that all the in-text citation is acknowledged. If I read anything and I know that it came from another source and you haven't said it, that's considered plagiarism. Please give credit where credit is due. Do not pretend it is your work. Now, when it comes to the reference page also, there are different ways that you do entries. I don't study them. I can't tell you them, but I can tell you when it's wrong. You know, if it's an interview, there's one way that you write it. If it is something taken from a journal, there's one way to write it. If it's something taken from a book, there's one way to write it. If it's taken from a book that's edited by many people, there's another way to write it. So what I'm saying is that there are different ways to write each entry in your list of references. Once again, do not make it up. Look at the textbook or this internet or wherever you can find it. Find an APA reference manual book or an MLA manual book. Do not make it up, okay? And once you do, you're going to be very pleased with your outcome, because one thing about reports is that at the end of it, you feel, oh my God, I did so much work and I feel good. And you did your presentation and you feel like you know the subject more, and hopefully you did something that's close enough to your heart, because I did suggest that in this video. It's good to do things that you're already interested in, because that will help with your motivation. And when you're done, guys, be proud of yourself. Be proud of what you did, because it's a lot of work. And if you stuck it out and you handed in a report that looks something like the one in this textbook, then you're amazing. Tell yourself you're amazing. I've had an amazing set of students in my 11-15 class this semester, and they have been really brave soldiers. And I know for many of them, life has not been easy with COVID, but they're still here. And guys, if you're still here, thank you for sticking around. And thank you for giving me good reports that I can read and enjoy. So until I see you, I don't know when, I don't know where, maybe you'll pop by one day and say, let me see what Tanya is doing. Let me see what's happening with Professor Tanya Speaks. If that's the case and you pop by one day, please say hi. Drop a comment in the box and say, Tanya, I'm still here. I see you're still doing this. Yeah? Been doing it for 31 years and I'll still be doing it maybe for another 10 or so. So it was a pleasure having you guys, and thank you so much for being such a great class. Good luck in your other classes. Good luck for you. Good luck to you if you have exams coming up. And be good, walk good, and stay healthy. Until I see you soon, bye for now.